carry on? I'm going to take that as a yes. So yeah, let's keep going. So
yeah, you continue. Okay. Yeah. So now we will see how to initialize a project. So what does it mean, initialize a project? We will create a first project, so it will be a second project for you, but oh, command is okay. So we'll create, say, a first project, add some tasks, milestones and summary tasks to explain how to create them, create some dependencies, constraints, build a timeline, discuss the structure of a project and a baseline. So we have a lot of things to see here. I propose that we will do maybe a break in the middle of the this long part. I thought it was 2 hours, but I think it's not necessary to have such a long time. So your first project. So what will we do in this part? In the real life, when everything will be in production, etc., you should not create directly your project by yourself like we will do here. But because we want to have some exercise projects, so it's important to understand how things work in the background. So we will create a dummy project based on the blank project. So create a project from scratch. So it's do like this. We will integrate some milestones, some tasks, and some summary tasks inside. So what can we say about that? You can identify milestones as tasks which are displayed with a kind of square or lozenge here, because it's a 0-day duration task. So it's a special task which does not mean that we have an activity here, but it's more to identify an event in the life of the project. When you want to, for example, RTB is a good example, NTP, COD, etc. These are milestones because it's an event. Okay, it's not a work that we have to do, but it's more to say, okay, the RTB must take place at that time. So to create a milestone, we simply create a 0-day task, and automatically it will be identified as a milestone and displayed like this. After that, we have some tasks. So I would say normal task. It's just to identify some activities on your project. So it's a task with duration that you can set up. So it's displayed in a Gantt chart like this, like a bar, a blue bar mainly. And so it's an activity task. But after, because we want to organize our planning and not having the same all the tasks at the same level, we want to group some tasks because they are related to the same activities. So you want to create a group of tasks, or maybe do you want to create some phases in your planning? So first phase 1, task 1, 2, 3, and a milestone to say, okay, phase 1 finished, and after the same for the second phase. So you can create some summary tasks to group some to create a group of tasks. So it's very elementary things, but 3 things here are really the basics of MS Project. So everything in the planning is built like this. So you have a collection of tasks, of milestones, and summary tasks, and this is a planning. Okay. Of course, the different tasks can be linked together, because if you don't link tasks together, it means that everything can be planned in parallel. So sometimes it's true, but it's not always the case. That's why we want to create some dependencies between the different tasks. For example, I'm here on the task, so on this task here. So I will take again my laser pointer. So this task here, municipal acceptance, we see that there is a predecessor defined. So the task 51. So the task 51 is permitting starts. You see that if you click on the predecessor cell, you have a drop-down list where you can select your dependencies. Here you can select multiple dependencies or just one. Of course, you cannot be the the predecessor of yourself. So you just have to select the task on which you depend. But predecessor, it has really a sense. The sense of a predecessor, it's a task. We can only start this task here if this one is finished. If you have a finish to start dependency, it's not okay, because of my resources I can no. It's really I need a deliverable from the first task to start the next one. And this is a sense of the predecessors. Okay, so I want to to have a predecessor for this. So I talked about finish to start. It's the most common dependency type, but we have a different type of predecessors. We can also have a start to start. It means that you start one task at the same moment that you start the other one. You want to start, so we'll make some examples here. It's easy to understand. You want to synchronize the start of different tasks by using the start to start dependency type. We can also have finish to finish. So in that case, you want to synchronize the finish date of different tasks together. Okay, and start to finish. So this is more used when you make some kind of reverse planning. You want to plan from the end of the project and build a kind of retro planning. So you use the start to finish for that. Okay, so in demonstration it will be more easy to understand. We can use also some interesting things that are constraints and deadlines, because a task has a start date, a finish date, or a duration, but sometimes we want to say, okay, normally my task is supposed to be finished at that date, but I have really a deadline because I have to show something to my investors or to I don't know, different stakeholders of the project. We want to show them something, or you have to provide your specification to your subcontractor, and so you can say that the deadline of the task is this one, and if you define in the advanced tab of the task a deadline, the deadline will be displayed like this in your planning. And when your finish date is before your deadline, nothing happens. But you will see that if you have a finish date which is later than the deadline, you will be warned with a red flag showing that okay, we have a scheduling problem, and you should maybe consider reschedule things, change the deadlines, or maybe try to reduce the duration to have something where the deadlines are okay. Okay. To manage your planning, you can also use constraints. So it's more strict because here you will really generate some alerts, like pop-up alerts, if it's not okay. For example, you have, again, a kind of deadline, but really you want that the task is finished at that time. So you can put a must finish on constraint on it. And here, deadline is for information only. Things that okay, if you don't respect this date, so you are warned, but it's not a big deal. But constraints, really, the task cannot be the data forced to be the dates that you defined here. In that case, your finish date will always be in July, the 17th of July, even if predecessors are longer and if your different task before takes longer, the constraint date will always be taken account by project, and the finish date will be as defined in the constraint, even if it is not possible, physically not possible. So in that case, when project detect that we have such kind of situation, you are a scheduling conflict will be displayed, and you have to to analyze your planning and try to solve the situation. Okay, I propose that we start to make kind of exercise about this, but maybe can we take our coffee now and continue with the exercise on this topic, because this is really the most important things in the scheduling technique that we have on Project Professional. So maybe we will be more focused with the coffee, and so maybe say something like 10 minutes of break, Samantha.
Sounds good. I'm in.
Yeah. Okay, I agree. Okay, so see you at in 10 minutes.
Yeah. Good. Thanks, everyone. We'll jump in 10. Cool.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I guess that's...
Oh, sorry. Well, I hope everyone's here, but just a quick shout out. I see who's dropped a message. Fortunately, it's not many, so let's see if everyone's back. I think, yeah. Sylvain, do you want to continue?
Yeah, okay. So what I propose is that we cut our big part here in two parts to try make some exercises about the first things that we explained just before the break. So what we will do is the first steps here, which are Open a Project Pro connected to test. So normally it should be connected. So we will create a new blank project, create some tasks with milestone, phase, and subtask, and set up predecessors, link them together. We will change a little bit the predecessor to have to see how it works with start to start, maybe finish to finish, etc., with some lag between the tasks, because it's possible to do. And set up a deadline on linked tasks. Okay, and so it will be a long part. So we will do it step by step together. So I will share my screen and do the operation, and you should do the same, and we will try to synchronize during the exercise to see if everybody can follow that. Okay, so let's go. I change here. So normally you should have something like me on your screen. So project is open. Well, so I will do the same as previously. In my search bar, I type project. So now you don't see what I here. And okay, and you should see something like this. So at this step, is it okay for everybody? Or I would say, if somebody is not okay, please tell me, and if not, I continue. We have the login screen here, where we have to select the Amarenco test, so HTTPS Amarenco on Microsoft.com, which should be displayed here. Then, okay. Okay, so project professional is started with a blank project, but because I want to show you how to create a new project from scratch, we will not use this project one project. It's not necessary, but okay, it's more to understand how project is built. So if you go here on the file menu, see that we have the backstage menu, which is displayed with the different parts. Normally he waits that you open a project, so you have the recent project that are available, including the project that I pinned on my menu. All these projects are the projects that I often use, so I can pin them. Okay, and when it's finished, you can unpin them so they are not visible after. So I will remove them from here. Okay, so what we want to do is not to open an existing project. We want to create a new one. When you go to new, you have several possibilities. You can create project from blank, and you can create. So it will be what we will do now, create a blank project, but it's also possible from there to create project based on the template. So we will discuss templates later, but here you see that we can create project for based on the Austrian template, on the Egypt template, etc., etc. So in our case, we will make it simple now. We will create a blank project to learn really the basics of task management. So what we want to do is create some series of tasks. So I have no imagination, so I will create task 1, task 2, task 3. Okay. We could put a duration on these tasks, so maybe 10 days. Okay. We said that it could be nice to create some summary task. So I will insert here with my keyboard. I tip the insert key to say, okay, I want to do phase 1. But here, it's not a summary task. So how to transform a task into a summary task? Just you have to select all the children of the task and go here into this menu here. So this function create subtask. So indent task is not available in the menu. So maybe we will do an update of the ribbon and send you a new version of the ribbon when we change the list of functions that are available here. But to make the indent, so to say that these tasks are children, you have to go to the task menu and click here on indent task. Okay. Some operations are also available directly from there, from the menu. Unfortunately, this one is not. So you have to go in the task and make the indentation of the task. Now we will also create a milestone. So maybe we'll say ready to start. why not? We can do like this. So for the moment, you see that it's not a milestone. It's a 1 day duration task. Okay, so we want to set it as a milestone. Just we can say it's a 0 day, and it's transformed into a milestone. And after we can create some links between the different tasks. So different way to do. Please don't use this function here because it's possible to link task by if you select one. You see, please don't do that because you have no control on what happens. So some people make this sometimes, but really it's not a good practice to edit the planning with the mouse directly in the graphical part. Sometimes it does what you expect, but sometimes it does not. And you could have some side effects because sometimes project does not really understand what you want to do. So if you know how to do this, try to forget it. And if you didn't know, try to forget that what I showed you just before. It's not a good practice to do like this. So it's better to use this possibility here. You can select the cell here, predecessor, and connect you to the task on which you depend. You see that a link is built. Same for that. So we could make it like this. You see I can select all the tasks. But if you have a series of tasks that you want to link together, it's also possible to do it in a very fast way. I used to use a shortcut keys on the keyboard. So here I can click on Control F2 on my keyboard to make it. See, up Control F2, and you build a series of dependencies. If you don't remember the shortcuts, it's also possible in the task menu to go here on this icon, link the selected task. And you see that it's displayed here. It's a Control F2 as well to link the task. If you have a series of maybe 3, 5, or 10 tasks to link together, it's much more efficient to do like this. If all the tasks are linked in the finish to start way. So it's our case here. We want them first to link them in a very in an easy way. Okay, so when we do that, you can see that the duration of the summary task is automatically calculated. And here I really want to point something really important. You don't have to edit summary tasks. Don't change things here because it's possible to edit. Maybe you want to say that, oh, I would like to make a buffer and say that the phase 1, it's okay, it's a free task here, but I want to integrate a buffer. So I want that this task takes 40 days. So you can make it. So it's possible to make it. Project accepts. You see that the summary task goes further than just 30 days. You can make it, so it works. But you see that we have a special icon here which tells us that the task is manual. It's a manually scheduled task. So it's possible to do, but really, again, it's a bad practice because when you make it, you have no control on what a project does not control what you do. Maybe if you put 20 here, okay, it's possible as well. So, but here we see that it has no sense. How can we say that phase takes only 20 days, known but that the task takes 30? So it's possible technically. You see that we have some warnings, etc., etc. But really, what we have to have in mind that you don't have to edit the summary task. So really, it's a very, very bad practice to do. Let project manage the summary task because he knows how to integrate all the underlying information on all the children task, and we have to switch to auto schedule, and we are in auto schedule, so we have something which is much more consistent. You see. Did you all manage to create these 5 tasks? Hello. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I missed the part where you created the phase 1 in there.
Okay, I will recreate the same here. Yeah, no problem. It's really important to request some help if things are not clear. So I made this kind of thing, task 2, task 3. I wanted to create a phase, maybe I will say 2. Oh, okay. I had at the beginning this, and to put this to switch this task as a summary task, just I have to select all subtask here, what I want to set up as a subtask, and click on indent task. You see, when I do this, up, the task moves to a summary task. Okay, task, normal task, and if the tasks are converted into subtasks by using this function, the phase is really now a phase. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay. There is maybe a more direct way to create. You see that we have in the task menu here possibility to create directly task, summary, etc. After it's a question really of how you used to work with project. I didn't take the reflect to use this function here because I think it's to create a button for that. It's something a little bit not say ridiculous, but you can make things like this. It's possible to do. After, if you think that it's a good solution, you can make it. On my side, I don't think it's really useful, but why not? So you can, and the same for milestone. It creates directly milestone. So if you think that these functions are interesting, we could add them to the Amarenco ribbon. It's not difficult to do. So it's really a question of the way you work with project. So you can give us some feedback about this if you want that we add these functions here. It's possible. Okay. So now we have some milestone, subtask, summary task. In fact, we created this task. We say that task 3 is directly linked to the task 2 in a finish to start dependency type. But in fact, it's not the case. This task in real must start exactly at the same time as that task 2. If we have this case, we have just to switch to start. And then you see that the task will start together at the same time that the task 2. And it's displayed like a 4SS. So maybe I went a little bit too fast. So for that you have two possibilities. You have different possibilities. You can double click on the task and you have this pop-up displayed here. and you can change, or you can use the information information button here, which is exactly the same. If you don't want to double click, you can select the task and click on the information. It does the same, but you just have to click once. And so you change start to finish, or maybe to different type of selection. So we'll stay to the start to start, and we can also introduce some lag. It means that, okay, we have to start more or less at the same time, but this one should start maybe 5 days later. Okay, and if you do this, you see that you have 5-day duration between the start of this one and the start of the second one. Okay, this kind of lag can be set up in the finish to start. You can maybe start a task and include some kind of buffer here to say that, okay, we have to wait 5 days between the end of this task and the beginning of this one. It's possible to do. The lag can be -5. Oops. -5. In that case, you say that I don't have to wait the complete completion of task 2 to start the task 3. So you have a lot of flexibility for that. You can do really what you need. Just have to edit here the details of the predecessor. So of course you can to set up this kind of dependency, more complex dependency, you have to open this pop-up task information pop-up window because it's easier to edit. Because you can also type here, yes, fs minus I don't know, 3 days. It's possible, no? But it's not really easy to remind exactly the syntax of this, so it's better to use this kind of things. So now maybe we could play a little bit with finish to finish. I know that in the template we have some kind of relationship. You see that here we have in that case, so it's not really. You see that the behavior that we have on this case. So we synchronize, in fact, the end of both tasks. We say that task 2 and 3 must finish together, and so the task 2 drives it. So we have this 10 days task, 10 days duration, and we said that, okay, we want that the task 3 will be finished at the same time at task 2. So project will calculate, depending on the duration, when this task should start, to be sure that we finish together. Of course, in that case, we can also introduce a lag. So think like this, okay? So after it starts to be a little bit complex, you have to keep your planning simple, but this case can exist, and maybe in your business area, this case can be applied at a certain time. So don't hesitate to use if you really understand how it works. So I will invite you to try the different possibilities here to really understand how it works. The rules are really basic when we do this with some simple example. After, you have to apply them in a more complex project, and to be sure that you will always understand what happens. Because if you have some dependency from there to there, etc., it can be sometimes complex to understand what happens in your planning. But okay, there are a lot of possibilities there, and to have something really powerful to manage your different cases. Some question for that? No. Okay. So what I suggest now is maybe to go a little bit further in our example in the scheduling things. We will include a new milestone. Linked to this one. We want the milestone is not directly linked. We want maybe to put a kind of flag like this. Okay. So it's okay. Our schedule is done like this. And I want to say that this task 3 has a deadline. Because yes, we wait some things for our stakeholder in our project, and we say that our task should finish, in fact, at maybe not at this exact date, but we will say that maybe at maybe this will be the deadline. Okay, so you see that sorry, our task 3 should finish normally on the 17th of January, but because we want to be sure that we have some margin, etc., really we are committed to finish our task at this date here, which is the deadline, the 19th of January. In our case here, okay, we have 2 days of margin, so perfect. But what happens if maybe when we start the project, etc., maybe task 2 will take more time than expected. Maybe instead of 10 days, the task will have a 30-day duration. You see that we are going, the task will finish after the deadline, which is defined. And so I think we have a planning problem. And on the indicators column here, the first one, we have an alert which is displayed, telling us that this task goes past its deadline. So here directly, we know that we have a scheduling problem. So it's not, you have not a big warning. Okay, it's just an indicator to tell you that we have potentially a scheduling problem here. So it's a good indication, and when you have this, you have to think about how to maybe you have to reduce the duration here. Yeah.
Sorry, how did you get this scheduling problem to appear there?
Yes, I think it's a scheduling problem or maybe a realization problem. In fact,
yeah. So I pushed out the task 2, okay, but I don't get the green that green highlight in the bar.
Yes, we can put some color walls in the bar, etc. We can make this with a kind of bar styles, etc.
No, yeah, but just let's happen automatically for yourself. I don't have the, say you have the warning there in the first column with the eye. What's driving that warning, if I put it that way?
Okay. So here the warning simply tells us that the deadline which is defined is, in fact, the finish date is later than the deadline. So project identifies that we have a problem here because our deadline cannot be, we cannot finish the task before the deadline. So we will finish the task 2 days later. So a warning is displayed for that.
Okay, sorry, I missed you adding the deadline. Apologies. Yeah.
Okay. So to remind, in the advanced part of the task, in the task information, we have the deadline here, and we define the deadline as the 19th of January. Okay. So it's a first way to manage some alerts. I would say it's a kind of low-level alert on things because okay, just for information only, I would say. After we can switch to another kind of another type of alert where you will be warned with a more radical message sent to you by project. For example, in my case, I will tell to project that my milestone must be finished on this specific date. So must finish on. If you don't specify the constraint date when you validate, project will use the actual the date of the task as a constraint date. And often I think it's very convenient to do like this. Okay, you see that now project says that this task must finish on this date. Okay, so it means that it's not a flexible task. It's really not dependent of the duration of the predecessors, etc. You see that in our case of deadline, project does not we are allowed to go over the deadline date, but sometimes it's really a problem because if you need, for example, to deliver some things to your customer at a certain date and you are late, so you don't want that project moves the milestone at a moment with maybe 10 days of delay. It's not possible. So in that case, where really the constraint is really important and we are committed to work for and to deliver the task at a certain date, it cannot be moved by project. You can put some kind of constraint on it, so must finish on. And in that case, if I continue to have some task which continues to drift, maybe I will put 20 days here of duration. Why don't I have a warning? Maybe that's something normally. So first, you see that the task does not has not moved, but normally we should have here a warning which is displayed, but something in my options are not is not set up correctly. But it's a problem sometimes in project because it displays the warning only one time. And if you already had a warning like this, the next time the warning will not be displayed. So I will explain after. Just I will check here if we have the correct warning task schedule warnings. Yes.
So then, just while you check that, for the Irish team, an example of that is where we have our defined bid window. We need to have our submission in for the auction. So that's where and Austria is the same. We defined that as a strict constraint that will provide us a warning if we are running over in our deliverables to meet that submission date. So that's just a practical example on your projects.
So did you have some warning on your side when you do the same operation? Because I will save my project and restart a project to show you, but maybe you already have...
There was a warning with multiple options about do you want to remove it or do you want, there was a 3-option kind of pop-up window saying, do you know what you're doing? Do you want to not do this? Do you want to do it a different way? Or do you want to do it as you've suggested?
Okay, so it's exactly the behavior that we should have. So okay, the other one also. So I will reload my project again and make it. I think that I have previously. I get the warning, and
I had a planning, so I had those 3 warnings that Ronan was talking about when I set the deadline, or the must be finished by. And then when I tried to change the days from 5 days to 20, I had a planning wizard come up and tell me, and it didn't come up the second time.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So you see that this is a warning that I expected to see, but because previously I opened a project with another warning, that's why it was not displayed. So it's a problem that we solved in the production environment. I will show you after. But what we have here, it's a message telling us that we have a scheduling conflict. You see that it's kind of message, it's very more strong. It's stronger than a simple icon here. Here we really say that, okay, we have a big issue in terms of planning, and so you have to solve it. So after, when you validate, you can continue to work, but you have to change things that solve the problem. So in the production environment, you will see that functionality was not implemented in the test environment that you are using in the training. It's that we display a cross here. Just see. No, it's not in place. But it's like, yeah. No, it's total Slack. Okay. We used a special field of project which calculates, in fact, the slack that we have between the different tasks. And if the slack is negative, we display a red cross. I don't remember if in the training support we have the example. I think that yes. Just let me check. So it's things like okay, it's an icon like this, which is displayed when we have a delay, a problem, a scheduling conflict. You have in all the project INC, so it's inconsistency in the planning, and this cross is always displayed in production environment when you have this kind of things. So it's not in the test. Forget to put it in the test, but it will help you to have this information always available, because here we have really a scheduling problem, and you cannot let your planning like this, because you think that you will be okay, and in fact it's impossible to finish this task on time. So we have to solve this. So that's why we created this special icon here to identify a task with a scheduling conflict. Okay, just check link task. Okay, so for the exercise here, it's finished. Maybe we can continue. No more question for that. Okay, maybe we can close.
Just when you're adding columns, is there any way to simplify the drop down? Because there's a lot of useful columns you can add, but they're a disaster to find amongst the hundreds it shows.
Yeah, I agree. When you see that on my share screen, you have a lot of information really a lot of information. So we will see some of them, but not all. But yes, it's true that you have a lot of column like Slack here. What we try to do is to use, in fact, this kind of information which is not easy to find when you don't know exactly the words, etc., and to convert them into simple indicators. That's why we use these to display them as a cross, and maybe it's easier to manage and to learn. But you have, you're right, a lot of this kind of information here, the leveling, the late task, finish, etc. So maybe can you continue after to explore the different possibilities that we have. You have a marker saying it's milestone or not. So you have really a lot of things. You cannot go through all the fields. Like a WBS, it's something important as well. You see the code, in fact, of your task, depending on the position and the depth of the task. So we have a lot of things to continue to explore, so we don't see everything in one day, but just after we have a lot of information available in the web to go further in all these area and to go, yes, if you're really on the basic things, but after could we maybe schedule a more advanced technical in MS project if needed. Okay, now we will return to the PowerPoint. So with things which is much more easier to manage, like timeline. So maybe in MS Project you can see that we have a timeline displayed on in our planning to have a more synthetic view of your project, the different phases and the main parts, which can be organized with such a way. So to make it so, basically, when we create a new project, a baseline, a timeline is already created with what we think the main important task, but maybe you can adapt for all of your project and add additional tasks. For that, you just have to select your task and add to the timeline. Okay, and it will take the task with the duration here and put it into the timeline. We will make it after in demonstration. To have something like this, which is a more convenient way to have a global view of your planning. And after, this timeline can be copied to be integrated into a PowerPoint presentation, Word, etc. And you have here a different copy possibility for email, presentation, and full. The difference is really the resolution that we have. So I think that the best would be always to take the full, and after you can reduce the size of your timeline by reducing the picture. When you export this, you have different way to use the timeline. It can be seen as a simple image, a vectorial image that you can resize as you want, but also as an office graphic object that you can continue to edit when you are on the PowerPoint, etc. So I will make it in demonstration. It will be easier to catch. Okay, so this is a timeline. So really presentation and communication about the project. And the baseline is another way to manage. So you can define when you finish to create and to plan your project, the duration are defined and the milestones are set, etc. Then you can say, okay, now this is my baseline, the baseline of my planning. And then if you click on set baseline, it will take a snapshot of your planning. And these values will not change. If you change the duration of the task in your planning, the baseline planning will stay as when you created it. And after you can display the baseline by a function here in the ribbon baseline. You can display and see, for example, here in my example, I have a task which is in blue, so it's my normal planning, but in black, in gray, it's the baseline. So you can compare, in fact, your baseline with the current planning. So again, we will make it into in the demo. It's easy to understand. And the last point for this scheduling and organization of your planning, some best practices that I want maybe to discuss together. So it's not specific to MS project. I think it's more some rules to manage a correct planning, regardless the tool that we use, because the rules are available are true for all scheduling engine. In terms of when you create a planning, you should really to try to. I didn't put a lot of rules. We can add many rules, but the main ones are to use milestones. I think it's really more readable to have a planning with some milestones really displayed like this, and it's displayed like milestone only if your task takes 0 day. Some people, when you have some milestone on the planning, they put a 1 day and think that, okay, I have a very thin task and it's a milestone, but I think we don't use the possibility of project when you do this. A milestone is a milestone, so we have to put 0, and then in the planning it will be visible that it's actually a milestone. And in terms of readability of your planning, it's really much better. Also, I like to give a structure to the planning. It's not just it's something more general than just me. So, it's always good to have to group the main milestones of your planning in a specific area, and under that have another section with the different tasks, and you can make link together the milestones and the activities. And by doing this, you have a kind of hierarchy of your planning. You have a multi-level. If you are focused really on the key dates of your planning, you will just have to check the milestones here. You don't have to go into the details of your planning. And I think it's useful to make it. If all of your milestones are integrated in the list of tasks, etc., in terms of if you want to read your planning, you have to maybe set up some filters, or I don't know, go into details to see, in fact, the most important things. So I think it's not really nice to do. It does not mean that you cannot put milestones into the detailed task. It's not a problem. Maybe like our previous example, we had task 1, 2, 3, and after, okay, phase 1 is finished. So we had this task here. But after, if it is an important task, I think it will be good to create an additional task in the milestone area, put a link between the milestone task here to have it displayed in the milestone area. So we don't make it for all the milestones. It's not mandatory, because if it is not an important milestone, maybe we don't need to show this milestone at the highest level of the planning. But we will see after on the Avarenco project type, some of your milestones are really important, like ICP, like RTB, NTP, etc. For them, we don't want to have them very deep in your planning, and if you want to see the COD for your project, if you have to drill down and see the detail and develop all the subtasks to find finally your COD, I think it's not the best way to organize. So have a kind of hierarchy and have a milestone area. It's something really good to have in your planning, and really think you will have a better planning if you do it. After, it's something more not to do. Think like link phases together. Sometimes we could have the temptation to say that, okay, we have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and we want to link phase 1 to phase 3, etc. It can be done, but sometimes it's not a good practice, because it's better to link the subtask together instead of linking the phases together. Because sometimes maybe we can start the phase 2 before the phase 1 completely finish. For example, we have a phase 1, okay, we finish with a milestone, and after we could have some post-phase operation to do after finishing of the phase 1, some kind of retext of the phase, or I don't know. But when you finish all your deliverable from the phase 1, you should start the phase 2. So if you put a link between phase 1 and 2, your phase 2 will start later. So it's not really nice. So really, I will maybe illustrate it in an actual example in MS Project. But sometimes we see that often when we start to use a project, we are temptation to do like this. But it's better really to link the subtask and not the phases. Okay. We can add a lot of additional rules for that. One of it, maybe don't create some very small task, like a 1 day, 2 days task. Your projects have often multi-year duration. If we start to use some task with maybe half a day or 1 day, I guess your planning will have a lot of tasks. So a planning is not an agenda, it's not a checklist of operation to do. It's more a list of activities that you have to link together and to manage your planning, your global planning. Not, okay, this morning I will do this, and this afternoon this, etc. We have some other tools that can manage this kind of that level of information. But project is not the good one for that, because otherwise we will have a very huge project and difficult to maintain, and it will be a nightmare after we say, oh, MS Project is too complex for what I want to do. In fact, in that case, it's not MS Project that is too complex. It would be that project is used for something for which it was not designed. In the Microsoft Word, we have tools like Planner, or I don't know, Wunderlist or Trello. It's not in Microsoft, but okay, this kind of more agile tools, they are much more adapted for this level of task, micro task, for the really detailed task. Project is not designed for that. Okay, so when you create and when you want to add some task, think that, okay, is it really a task that has something to do in MS Project? Okay, so I propose to go.
Yep. Sorry, Sylvain. I just want to add one to that, and Ronan will know full well how I feel about this. Is manual tasks, as you showed previously, to stay away from manual tasks. That's a big one as well.
Yes, I agree. I have maybe to add it into the training support, right? Yeah, maybe it's the worst thing that you can do in a planning.
Yeah.
I made some illustration just before in the demo, so you saw that what is possible to do with manual tasks. So you can completely destroy your planning and have something wrong planning, in fact, if you do it. Okay. So what we will do now is to illustrate things here, maybe I will return to a correct planning because I don't like to have some task with alerts, etc. Maybe you have something like this. So we will continue to adapt a little bit of things. So we'll create a milestone area. So where we will put maybe why not our ready to start milestone is at the correct place. So I will switch this as really a milestone. I will say here that okay, phase 1 finished. Why not phase 2 finish? And okay, project finished. Okay, so this task phase 1 is finished when phase 1 is finished. So we just have to put here 10 as a okay. This one, okay, we didn't put a milestone, end milestone for phase 2, so maybe we could, but okay, we will keep it simple. And after that, we don't have additional tasks after, but maybe maybe a text, I don't know. So here maybe we have a predecessor on 14, and we can say that this one is finished when the 15 is finished. I didn't link the task together, so it's done. And okay, just this one, yes, it's this one, okay. Okay, so here you have a very basic planning with all our things together. Maybe I can start this one after, because it's a second phase. Okay, this is my structure that I want to have. We talked about a possibility to have a timeline. Okay, so you can right click and say add to timeline. Okay, this one, I put this. Often on a timeline we are happy to see some milestones. So if I select, I can put the milestone, and here you see that I have a very simple timeline with the different milestones defined and the different phases. Okay. Now we can put some paint on. Like this. Green. Okay. So we have a very nice baseline. After some time, we want to put some additional task on the baseline, and if we do this, so his project sees that he cannot put it on the first line. So with that, we can put a kind of multi-level timeline. This you see. So here we have the global planning, and here at the second level we have more detailed things it's possible to do. Okay, and after, okay, we have a nice timeline. We want to copy this timeline to communicate on the timeline. So if we do this, okay, copy in the full size, and maybe we want to integrate this into a PowerPoint presentation. So I open a presentation here. We say that I want to have a blank, and here we have different possibility of paste our timeline. So here you see that we have something very, very long. So in our case, maybe we should see that, okay, it's too long. So I will maybe simplify my timeline and, okay, maybe just display the first phase. So the advantage of this technique is that all the objects can be change. You can maybe change here things like change a little bit the explanation and adapt, in fact, your timeline for your presentation. Okay, so it could be sometimes interesting to edit your timeline directly in a PowerPoint or in your mail or Word document, etc. So first possibility. But you see that if you want to resize the timeline, it's not the best. So sometimes it's more efficient to pass your timeline in a picture format, and then you have something like this. So everything is in one single block. But of course, in that case, you cannot change things in your timeline here. Okay. So it's very, very simple, but I think I do appreciate, in fact, the timeline in Project Professional. I think it's a good way to communicate the planning. Okay, so then what we did not do right now is to talk about. So I will show different things there, because it's not in the training support, but I think it's could be interesting for you. It's about the presentation of the MS project planning, the Gantt chart. Here you see that it's displayed in a very basic way. We have just blue bars, no information about the names. So it's possible to customize a little bit things in MS Project. If you click on bar styles, you can select for each kind of task how you want them to be displayed on the screen. For example, a task is one. Which color? Maybe you want to display them in this color. Why not? Same for this one. And okay, and then again, you want that we display, in fact, the name of the task. For the milestone, maybe we want to display them with another kind of picture. Changing, why not this? Or sometimes I use this kind of things. Okay, summary, and for milestone, often it's nice to have so the name at the left and the finish at the right. And maybe for the summary task, we can say that we want at the right the name of the summary task. But again, here we could maybe change, why not, the color of the summary, the pattern, the shape. We can change a lot of things. So if we make it, okay, we have something like this.
Sorry, how did you get the bar styles pop up again? Sorry, I just missed that.
Yes, so you can right click on the Gantt area and you can
White
go
space,
into
okay.
and then you can so you have a lot of other possibilities for that. Well, we not go into detail if you want to play a little bit with it, but at the first level of things, it's something cool. Okay, so now that we are there, we want to set up a baseline on our project, and because now, okay, we define some deadlines on some tasks, we define some constraints, etc. So we had a kickoff meeting of our project, and we want to say, okay, now this is our reference planning. So in the ribbon, we have a set baseline button where you can say, okay, I want to set the baseline. So we can set the baseline for the entire project. It's what we will do. But it's also possible to say that we only set up the baseline for some selected task. Sometimes in some project management process, maybe we say that, okay, for the moment we can only define the baseline for the first phase, because it's a kind of evaluation phase. And after that, when we finish the evaluation, we should then define the baseline for the rest of the planning, because we have not all the information to be committed on some dates, so we can select only a sub part of the planning. Okay, if we click on here, we see that nothing happens. Okay, but in the background, some things happen. For example, if I add a new column, I did not really show how to add new column in MS Project, but there are several ways to do, and sometimes it's really interesting to make it. You see that the last column is named Add New Column. So if you click on it, you see the list of all properties, of all task properties, and that you can add on your screen. So one of the information that I want to add here is the baseline start and baseline finish. Baseline finish, okay, which is now defined. For example, if I clear the baseline, okay, you see that the baseline start and finish are not available, not applicable. Okay, so if I set the baseline, the dates here are visible, they are set, and maybe if you change the duration of this task, okay, I have my conflict, and you see that the baseline finish is not synchronized with the finish. So the task continues to change and to manage the progress and maybe the delays, but we have still the baseline defined, so you can compare baseline date with the current date, the forecast. And if you remember a little bit in the project center, we display for some specific task, some specific milestones, we define RTB baseline, RTB forecast, NTP baseline, NTP, etc. So the dates here are automatically extracted from the planning because we put some special task marker. We put as a project property the value of the date of the baseline for the RTB for these different key dates. Yes, Thomas?
Just one question, because you can define several baseline, right? So
yeah.
The link will be automatic. Which baseline will it consider in this view?
Yes, it's an important question for that, because yes, you're right. Technically, it's possible to define up to 11 baselines. see, I can select 11 baselines. It's important to define some rules about that. In our case, we only manage the baseline number 0. So it's a baseline, I would say it's the default baseline. But sometimes in some companies, we assign a specific role to each baseline. For example, we can say that the 0 is the initial baseline, so the first one, and we will always keep in mind that, okay, when we started the project, it was the baseline 0. And after, we can update the baseline on maybe, why not, in quarterly or monthly, or I don't know. So it's a revised baseline. And it could be assigned, for example, on the baseline 10. So you can assign some roles. It's important to define these roles really at the highest level, because after we want to make some kind of reporting on the different data. So if one project manager use as a the normal, the up-to-date baseline says that it's 0 and the other one it's 4, how can we consolidate some data in the global portfolio? So really we have to define some guidelines for that, say that, okay, the baseline 0, for the moment, we only manage at the PMO, the portfolio level, the baseline 0. It does not mean that you are not allowed to manage 1 to the 10, but it will not be visible outside. But it could be interesting for your own project management. It could be sometimes interesting to have that. It's also possible to save some kind what you call an interim plan, where you can copy the value in the kind of additional fields. So it's not really be considered as a baseline. It's more I want to save some scenario, for example. I want to copy things from scheduled to base to the start one, finish, etc. And after maybe you to see what happens if, okay, and after, but finally you will return to the original version. Here you can compare, in fact, the interim plan 1, 2, 3, and after you will choose which one is the best and, okay, validate it. Okay. So you can create several plannings in your own planning, but only one is the correct one. It's not the baseline. Huh? Baseline, it's one copy, but it's what is displayed here. I would say what is the forecast. Okay.
Sorry, Tamar, just to go back what you were saying about those baselines, and Sylvain, we are technically looking at the different baselines that we want to report against based on the latest approved IC document. However, to keep that consistent, like Sylvain is saying, we're going to need to define like an IC, baseline 1 is an IC1, baseline 2 is an IC2, for example. That's not exactly defined just yet. So we will have to standardize it like that with that understanding. So yeah, that's still to come tomorrow. We're not entirely there just yet.
Okay, I will see if I forget something in this.
Were you saying that once the baseline is set, that any changes will give that pop-up warning? Or was that some other constraint that was giving the pop-up warning?
Sorry, it was for me the question. Sorry.
Sorry. You had one of the pop-up warnings there when you added your baseline start finish and you went changing task durations and you got that pop-up warning again, the warning of a breach of schedule. Was that because you changed against the baseline or was there some other factor driving that pop-up warning?
No, in fact, we have no alert or no alerts which is displayed if the baseline dates are different from the forecast. But I think it could be an improvement that we could put into the system, because we can use some kind of custom fields in the system, and why not create a custom field which says, please show me the difference between the baseline finish and the forecast finish. And maybe if the forecast date is maybe later than the scheduled and the baseline finish, we could display maybe an alert. It's also possible to do. After, we have really to think what kind of alert do we want to set up, because too many alerts after it's not really clear, and I think we don't have to have too many alerts, but this kind of things could be set up, and really with discussion between you could maybe propose that okay, we set up this kind of additional alert, and so to the people that they know that okay, we have the baseline, so we plan to finish at that time, but we see that according to the baseline we are late. After, we can make it in Project Online and make it available in Project Professional and somewhere, but after, we don't have to forget that we will create different reports based on the planning, reports in Power BI, in Excel, and things like that. So we are not obliged to put everything into all the alerts in Project Professional. Some things could be maybe highlighted through Power BI reports to have a more synthetic view on number of milestones finished, tasks who are over the date of the baseline, etc. So we have this kind of possibility to add these things in Power BI reports. Maybe could it be better than in project, but really it must be discussed. I have no fixed opinion on that. It's really up to your preference of all of you.
Yeah, and Roland, absolutely for discussion. Just off the top of my head, if we had an alert for exceeding baseline, to be honest, I can only think of one project in my entire career where a project hasn't exceeded baseline. So we will probably be getting alerts all the time and then probably ignoring them. That's just off the top of my head.
Yeah, some threshold or something,
Yeah.
by certain.
Yeah, and we can, like I said, we can absolutely discuss it. But technically, that's what we've been doing in the Panoply reports. That's that variance between the baseline and showing that variance. So, but yeah, let's take that forward. Could be a possibility in some form, for sure.
Yeah, sorry, what part you told me to that question was I'm not getting the pop-up warnings that you were showing, when despite having constraints in there, it's not giving those warnings to say that you've breached a constraint.
Yeah, for the moment we don't have. For the moment we have alerts for when the deadline is passed, or when the constraint date is.
We don't
have about the baseline.
Yeah, no, I agree. I understand the baseline, but I'm not getting them for anything. The grey window pop-up you got. Yeah, they're not up for it.
You would say after in the presentation that we will have another kind of alert when we are late. Because here we see, okay, our tasks are all in the past because the project starts today. But after, when we will talk about the scheduling and achievement management, you will see that sometimes some tasks that should be finished today are not finished. And then we will have another alert, and it's so a delayed task. And so after, between all these alerts, we have to decide which one would be the best driver of our actions to do on the planning. But technically, everything is open. No problem.
I'm jumping in a lot now, Sylvain. Ronan, just maybe if I'm understanding your question, maybe there's a, coming back to the original exercise on constraints, there's a mix-up there if I'm hearing you right. Is that pop-up only appears when we have set a constraint date and we exceed that constraint date. The baseline is not a constraint. It's just okay.
I understood. Yeah,
Okay.
It's just I'm not getting that pop up for constraints. I'm not getting that pop up at all. I didn't earlier and I'm not as I play around with it. So
okay, yeah, we'll look at that. Yeah.